Hello and welcome to Trial by Stone. I'm your host Philip, and just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of our live show, of course, on Facebook. For those tuning in, this episode, it's one of those things where I sort of came up with the idea sort of early in the year because, of course, this year things have been a bit quiet on the Dark Crystal. There's been a couple of things that have been announced that are coming out sometime this year, but besides that, not a lot. Yeah. So, of course, I mean, with me, of course, is Sydney. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think the only things that have been announced is we got the RPG tabletop game from, I've forgotten the names, River Horse Games. And they did the Dark Crystal board game a couple of years ago. And so they're doing this RPG kind of game style, which I think we talked about this when on a future episode that there might be something that we'd love to maybe try and get into doing a live sort of RPG gaming kind of thing. So, I mean,
get people on to play it, do like a big show where we're all trying the game. That would be just so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So, I mean, that's something, if that's actually something you'd like for us to do, we'll have to figure out, because I mean, I've never played many of those RPG games, so I need to I'll definitely need to do a lot of research before
I'll hold your hand and guide you. I will show you the light.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
RPG experience at this point, so I'm like,
yeah. Yes, yeah. So because of that, I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do sort of a prediction show for what, just mainly to do with the franchise in 2021. I know I had a lot of entries in regards to, the future of Age of Resistance, but I was more just looking for just what the franchise in general, that I was just really curious about, what people would predict and all that kind of stuff. So I thought this was kind of a fun thing. So I guess, I might as well say, Sydney, how have you been actually, by the way? Like, did you have much of a break during the Christmas time and any Dark Crystal gifts or whatnot?
Yes, I did actually get a pretty good haul of Henson and Frowdy related things. I got the set of the Gartham Wars manga, which I'm super excited to check those back. I started reading the first one now, so I'm about halfway through the first one now.
Right, yeah, but you never had the second volume.
But now I do. Now I got.
Nice. Yeah, you had to complete. That's cool. Yeah.
Volume 1, and then the awesome Sean from the Thrawathon team, I guess the Thrawathon, he sent me like a Merry Christmas thank you for judging
that's awesome.
Thrawathon package, and I got he sent me the other Gartham Wars. And,
awesome.
And also this shirt. I have this shirt now. Hold on, I got him.
Yeah.
Very little room, but like this class.
Nice. Yes.
I got. It's not Dark Crystal, but it's the Brian Froud Fairies book, like the new edition, that big fat.
Oh yeah, that came out. Yeah.
From Brian Froud.
Yes.
I'm like I flipped through that thing for hours. It's just like stepping into my dream world. It's amazing.
Oh yeah. I'm very much like that with World of Dark Crystal. Every time just flip over the pages, it's just the images is just like, wow, this is outstanding stuff, and just so it distracts me a bit from actually reading the book.
A lot of Dark Crystal merch. Some of the best pieces that we have out there are those sort of. I mean, I don't even feel right about calling them coffee table books because they're so like big and fat and lengthy, but we got a bunch of those releases after Age of Resistance, with like new books that are just like diving into the world building. Like we have the Bestiary and then like the Song of the Gelfling clans and the big Age of Resistance book as well. I feel like they could keep doing books like that for a while. That just have to do with the world of Thra, because there's so much. So just I guess to dive right into my predictions, I don't know if it's so much a prediction as it is a hope and something that I think makes sense for them to do. I think would be a smart business move. I don't see why they wouldn't. Would be to do another big book, sort of like the World of Dark Crystal or like the Making of Age of Resistance, but maybe more like specifically centric ones. Like they could have one that's just like about the Mystics, for example, or one that's like just about the Skeksis. Like if they release sort of like a coffee table version of that Skeksis book, you know, that amazing big old triangular.
Oh yes, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like some sort of version of that, because I think a lot of the books that we have are all from the perspective of like Agra and Gelfling. Whereas if we had one that was sort of, do you remember that PDF that they put out that was like the song? What was it called? I don't even remember. Was
this to do the author quest?
Yeah, when it had like this whole entire layout of what they wanted Age of Resistance to be about, but the whole beginning, the intro of it was the Skeksis putting out this like propaganda that were like, beware, the following information is fake news.
Yes.
Like,
Anybody,
if you guys read that, if you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend. I think it's still up on the Dark Crystal website. If you go check out the PDF. I wish I could remember what it was called because it's been so long, but they made it a public thing you could go download and read because it's just a fun read. But the opening part is like from the perspective of the Skeksis. I think it's the Chamberlain. He puts out an official like thing that says, before you read this, just know, you know, it's fake propaganda from the Gelfling and the Skeksis are still your friends. And so anyway, I think something along those lines that's like from the perspective of the Skeksis would be really, really cool. Because I feel like from a tone perspective, most of the books that we've gotten have been like from the perspective of somebody who's on the side of the Resistance and the Gelfling and like has the well-being of Thra at heart. Whereas it'd be cool to have something on like, I don't know, to contrast with that. So partially a prediction, but also just like, that would be a good idea. Please do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, I just posted, I was just tracking down the PDF of the Gelfling Gathering, and so I've just
Gathering. Thank you.
Yes, the Gelfling Gathering. Yep. Yeah. So I've tracked it down because I'm not too sure if it is on darkcrystal.com. I think because I know they've changed up the website a little bit, but I know I don't know. I just because when I did a Google, I couldn't find the the direct link to the Jim Henson Company because hang on, I know why, because they removed the competitions from their website.
That's
I know.
Still people to read that. What the beans, Henson?
I know. I mean that thinking of predictions, I mean that'd be one I'd love to see them bringing back more competitions. Just to keep sort of the interest going and especially with the website. And I definitely like back in the days when I had their own little official forums and all that kind of stuff. That was pretty neat. So I was just having a look. I know checking out some comments. I know Haley Doe, she says that I think a cookbook based on the foods in Thra could be a cool idea, but like with human foods.
That would be so cool. How many friggin' Star Wars cookbooks are there? There are a whole bunch. And I mean, they have cookbooks for so many shows and franchises. There's a Friends cookbook, like
I know, or a Firefly cookbook. I think I saw it recently.
Office and like all of our like mundane sitcoms that just take place on regular old dumb Earth. Like, we don't want that. We don't want actual real world food. I want to know what Gelfling eat and then how to make an equivalent of that myself. So I think we've talked about that as well, how a cookbook from Hup. Who wouldn't want that?
I know. I would love that. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Definitely agree with that. I could see that happen. Again, like, I don't know how many of these are going to count for me as predictions so much as just like, please do that. I want that to happen. Because it's hard to make predictions now. You never know what they're going to do. Like, how could we have predicted that we weren't going to get a season 2? Like, that was a huge shock. You never.
You mean even getting the show when it first announced back in 2017? Yeah, that really shook fandom upside down. I think. I mean, in myself, and that was just Yeah, and those 2 years of the anticipation were, for me, felt like the longest 2 years. Just waiting for Dark Crystal, and if comparing that even back to in waiting for the prequel films every 3 years.
Yeah.
And I thought that was waiting forever. It's like, oh my god, I can't wait for Phantom Menace and then Attack of Clones and Revenge of the Sith and yeah.
How old were you when? I mean, tangent, but how old were you when Episode 1 came out?
So being born 87, I actually would have been 11.
Oh, you're only
11 or 12. Yeah, I would have been 11. Yeah. So I mean, like the prequel trilogy
generation. So we've had a similar experience at what age we were when that whole thing happened.
Yes, yeah. And like I've watched all the Star Wars films like on VHS a couple of years before then, and was excited about the special editions in '97. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's like with the prequel trilogy, like I really enjoy them. Yeah, there are some downsides to it.
One of my favorite movies ever. I will
for
Episode 1 with my dying breath. I don't want to hear it, people in the comments. If you're already ready to I have a Jar Jar t-shirt. I had all of the merch from Taco Bell. Okay, I don't know if they have Taco Bell in Australia. Do they have Taco Bell?
They do now. I think they did a while, but they closed down, and now they're sort of trying to come back. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy to me. But anyway, over here in the U.S., Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut are all owned by the same people. And when the prequels came out, they had a partnership. So they had all the Star Wars toys. So Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC, which Kentucky Fried Chicken, for those of you who are not Americans, they all had just like the coolest Star Wars Episode 1 specifically toys. My mom and my brother and I went to like every Taco Bell, every KFC, and to try to find, and Pizza Hut, to collect all of the toys. They had like these little Polly Pocket things that were like, I don't even know if anybody would remember what a Polly Pocket is. It was like a little miniature of the planets that you would open up, and it had like little tiny like Lego guys of like little miniatures of the planet, little scenes. There was like a Coruscant one and a Naboo one and a Tatooine one, and I still have like all of those at my mom's house. They were like anyway, something like that for Dark Crystal campaign. That's one of the things that frustrates me, why they didn't do that when Age of Resistance came out, why there weren't any like
No, it was only just to Funkos, really.
There weren't any big licensing like gimmicks to get people like, oh, what's this in my Happy Meal? Or like
fling. Oh, that would have been the best. But yeah, I was just thinking about with the Star Wars merch, and one of my favorites that I actually have is my brother actually found it in the market like a couple of years ago, and it was like these money jars, and there was a couple of different characters. There was a Darth Maul one, there was an Anakin Episode 1, but there was a Jar Jar Binks one, and he sent me the photos. I'm like, give me the Jar Jar. So,
absolutely.
And that's like the best use of the license. But yeah, I mean, going back to Dark Crystal, I was just checking the comments here. Merchandise for the prequels was awesome. Totally agree. Mandy wrote Podling pastries.
So yeah. And like that big frothy drink that was probably soap in actuality, but whatever that was, I want that. That frothy, soapy drink that Kira's mom flirts with Rianne with.
Oh yes, yeah.
Lady. What is that? How do I make that? Like, look at all the Harry Potter stuff. Like how everybody knows how to make butterbeer now, and you go get Bertie Bott's beans. Like that's been the case since I think they started doing that stuff since before the movies even happened. It was just when it was the momentum of the books, and they were still doing that kind of thing. And that's the sort of stuff that like ignites curiosity in new fans who aren't, already invested. They're like, what is this? And then they go to the internet to try to find what that thing came from, and then they learn about it. And it's like, there's so many reasons to go that direction. And a cookbook, I think, would be a great start to that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Look at the parties.
I know exactly. It'd be so awesome, and it'd be I know it'd be such a great tie-in. You know, like you could have Dark Crystal Foods while we're playing this Dark Crystal RPG. You know,
best day of
come on. Yes, yeah, exactly.
That would make this entire last year worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
so,
we can have Dark Crystal parties now.
I know.
Apocalypse
That'd be
worth
awesome.
it.
Exactly. All right. So, just going through some of the predictions. I might just start off with one from Sam Spencer. His prediction was, I don't think anything will be announced for the continuation of Age of Resistance or the movie story, but I do think we'll get a new book or comic series. Which I think as we get, as I'll probably read through this list, I think one of the big things that we've seen with these predictions is a lot of people thinking, you know, we might get a new comic book series this year.
Yeah, that's people seem to think that.
Yes.
And you know, I think that's fair. Like, even though they've kind of wrapped up the Age of Resistance season 1 related ones.
Yeah.
I think that time has proven that the comics have been pretty lucrative for the Dark Crystal universe, and so it's probably just a safe thing to continue investing in. And it's also just a medium that really works well for this world because it's very visual.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I wish that they would feature more artists. In future comic books, like that one artist tribute book that came out was cool. But
yes, that was actually pretty good. Yeah.
They could expand that even more with like maybe each story or each issue, like utilize even more artists, like in each issue to use somebody different, and maybe more lesser known ones. Because for me, like this is the horn I'm always tooting, is just looking to the talent that's in the fandom, because there's so many creators. As Thrathon has shown, like all of the contests that we've had for like fan art and fan fiction, even they were really onto something with the author quest back in the day, which was looking to the fans to all submit and then use from that pool of talent to create the actual like canonical products. And I guess we'll call it a prediction, but I hope that they do that again, because look at what happened. Like that led to getting J.M. Lee, which led to the novels being, you know, way more than they were originally supposed to be. And then he became an official consultant and writer for Age of Resistance for the series. So those things like snowball and project people into stardom, basically. So more of that. And comics is a good place to start with that.
Well, that was one thing I've been really surprised, actually, because I thought, in like with Dark Crystal comics, there's always actually, since I think Power the Dark Crystal, there's always been a comic after another. That, you know, there wasn't like, oh, we have to wait a whole year for the next sort of comics. So this is the first time, like going from Power to Beneath and then to Age of Resistance, like there wasn't like a big gap of waiting for new Dark Crystal comics. So when they wrapped up Age of Resistance, I thought, oh, you know, maybe we might get another comic. You know, they might announce something towards the end of last year, and that didn't happen. And so that's why I was sort of very surprised that they haven't announced anything yet. But who knows? I mean, I think
it'll happen.
I think
actually a safe prediction. We'll get a comic of some sort. What that is still maybe kind of a mystery, though. Like, what other stories are they going to tell?
And Mandy, I mean, she's posted on Facebook a comic series about Kadir and the Librarian, which, you know, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. And I was just having this conversation with Sean the other day where I had that same thought about how that story of the Librarian in particular would be perfect, because he just dropped that humongous hint about the fact that he had this crazy adventure in his youth, and like, I want to know what happened there. Were he
Well,
and Kadia like in love? Did Kadia break the librarian's heart, and that's what that
yeah,
tension was about? Because that's kind of interesting. Or
yeah, totally, yeah.
or not. Like what is it then? Like why, what did
Yeah,
he
what
go
is this
through?
backstory? Yeah. I'm
Why are
like,
he and Kadia so spicy with each other, like, and like bitter, and what is that? What
I
happened?
know, yeah, I know. I would love to know that too. So,
That'd be such a good series.
that would be kind of cool. I don't know if do you have the list of your predictions that you're in, by the way? Yeah. Do you want to read the next one from Huberman?
So yeah, Eliza Huberman.
Yes.
Who's probably, if she's not watching yet, she probably will be. So hi.
Yeah.
Hallmark holiday keepsake ornaments based on the Dark Crystal, as well as Hallmark itty bitties from the Dark Crystal film and from Age of Resistance. So like little knickknacks or like ornaments, things like that. I could see them doing that. I don't know about like a big name company like Hallmark doing it, but man, if that did happen, that'd be awesome.
It would be pretty, sweet. Because I know, was it fun.com? I know they did those
really cool
those
ornaments from the movie.
Yes, yeah. Those the Dark Crystal ornaments. They were just a bit of a putting the image on and whatnot. Christmas disc ornaments. And they were pretty cool. I mean, but yeah, I would love. That would be really cool. Like the hallmarks.
Big figurines and
yes,
like that. That'd be super cool.
Yeah.
So, an ambitious prediction for sure.
Yes, yeah. But I know. Well, that's the thing with this whole prediction is I sort of wanted, because I think whoever wins is going to be the one it's either very close or was so out there and was close sort of thing. So it'll just be judging on what happens. That we'll do that for sure. So I'll have a look at the next one from Brent, and he wrote, "We will get an announcement of some sort of film or series that will be released in time for the 40th anniversary, whether the second season of Age of Resistance with another streaming company like Apple Plus, or an animated movie to cover another period of Thra." So I mean, well, it is a pretty big one. That's a pretty big prediction. If I did see something like that to happen, it would probably be the end of December. That'd be the 39th anniversary, and maybe it would be cool if Hanson's like, hey, starting 2021 from the start of the year, we've got all these plans for Dark Crystal. Where it's like. All that kind of stuff.
Does raise an interesting point about how the 40th anniversary is going to be next year, not this year, but 2022. However, because that is a big one. 40, and now having Age of Resistance and all of these other books and everything, it would be pretty silly not to have something for the 40th anniversary. Even if they're just unveiling another comic series or something like that, but it's going to be something. And if that's the case, depending on how big it is, they probably would announce it at the end of this year. Just to get us hyped for it, because if we know anything about the Henson Company is that they like to make announcements about the Dark Crystal very, very early, so that we then are waiting in agony for like 2 years or more.
Yes, yeah.
With the little tidbit hint we got.
Or just announcements out of nowhere sort of thing. So
and then months and years of waiting for and you said we're doing a thing where, and what else?
I know.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Give it.
I know. So, I mean, that's the one thing I've been thinking about, like with these, comic books and all that kind of stuff. I kind of feel like that the time period would definitely probably be before Age of Resistance. I kind of feel like now that because I have a plan of, well, I think I would presume that, with the writers of Jeff and Will and the Henson Company, they probably know what would happen in the second season, or what happens in between Age of Resistance to the Dark Crystal. That, from a storytelling point, or not from storytelling, but from that there wouldn't be any comics or anything that would tell that story, you know, unless if they decide to do a season 2 as a comic. To leave that open, you know, for if they able to go back.
To figure that out now, like what they're gonna do. You know, they're probably having that discussion about, well, if do we wait to see if we can get another streaming service to do a season 2? So give it more time and hold off on doing anything that continues the story of Age of Resistance. I could see them just like waiting to continue that story for at least a year to see what happens, you know, in our post-apocalyptic Earth, to see what they can do and what other companies would be interested. So I kind of agree that they probably aren't going to do anything, at least in the next year, that continues Age of Resistance. They're probably going to look farther back. Farther ahead. What if, you know, are they going to go even further ahead after the movie again? You know, try to dive back into power or retcon it because so many people didn't like it, or go even further ahead of that and make it something totally else. But I think an animated series about like the Urskeks, pretty cool. I know there's so many people out there rolling their eyes at the animated series and like puppets are nothing, but hear me out. If it's about like another world, like where the Urskeks come from. That might
be open to that,
for an animated series, because of the nature of what kind of a creature they are, to see them like, because if you think of the Urskek puppet, they're good for just like standing there and floating there looking awesome and telling you a big important thing, but they don't really do much.
No.
It's not the most flexible, mobile puppet ever. They would have to do, in order to do a series that's centric on those characters, they would have to do like a total redesign on how those puppets work, or what kinds of puppets they are, because that could be potentially boring.
Because I vaguely remember, I think it was an audio commentary for the Dark Crystal, and I mean, I might be wrong here, but I think I vaguely remember how Froud was Brian. He was sort of like, I think he didn't get as much time really developing the Urskeks, so it was sort of like, even though like, you know, they turned out pretty great, but I think he probably would have liked maybe a little bit more time, you know, just to develop it just a little bit more to it. I mean, that sort of thing. But I mean, like for me, my prediction would be that, well, there's a couple. I mean, there's a couple, of course, but I think one big one I would love for them to do would be, if I announce something this year, would be to have a book series and a comic books that sort of this one big story thread. But it takes place, of course, way before Age of Resistance. So you know, between when the Urskeks arrive to the the Age of sorry, I was just trying to think of the age. It takes place during between the Age of Harmony and Age of Division. So after the Urskeks arrive and before the crystal cracked. Sort of thinking, because I mean, of course, you know, there's been, you know, like Star Wars that they have at the moment, the High Republic. So, you know, big publishing kind of thing that tells this story of this era through different forms of media.
From the perspective of the Gelfling, do you think, or like looking sort of away from the Gelfling and looking at maybe the Urskeks or somewhere else?
I think it'd be from the Gelfling's perspective, but I think that era, I think we're going to know a lot more about the Urskeks. A lot more than we know currently.
We're going to get an animated series as opposed to more puppets. It would have to be like the Urskeks, I think, because I think Gelfling just work better as puppets. I think everybody can agree, you know, looking at that, the documentary that talked about when they were going to be animated and it just doesn't look right when they're not puppets or when they're animated. And so I feel like if you were going to do an animated anything that took place in the world of the Dark Crystal, it would have to be just the Urskeks and not Gelfling centric anymore. But if they were going to do something with more puppets, or even more books, the Gelfling are just, you know, they're the closest to humanity. We relate to them, and they're the ones we've established, you know, they sell, the Gelflings sell because we like them. And so, I think that is also a safe prediction that if they're going to do something, it probably will be Gelfling centric, but I want something having to do with the Urskeks. Totally definitely, cool with an animated series about the Urskeks and like just the story of them coming to Thra. From before, and like that transition of like those that particular group of Urskeks getting banished, like what happened there.
And I think like the great thing about like they could tell these stories from that era is because, well, a lot of it's been untold, and also the stories that happened before Age of Resistance, they probably won't have any connection to, like they don't need to connect things, you know, because it hopefully won't contradict anything that, you know, this is its own era. That's why I've sort of been thinking about, like, you know, they'll leave the Age Resistance era, they leave it alone, you know, maybe keep it to just the puppets, you know, try and do another season, you know, with puppets if they can.
More interpretation and to come up with new ideas. That, or what if they did like just a reimagining of creation myths, like if they literally just did an adaptation of the creation myth story, rather than having to like come up with new ideas, they would just, well, here's this awesome book that the fandom all basically seems to be united in liking, as opposed to Power of the Dark Crystal. Everybody seems to have positive feelings about creation myths, rightfully so. So let's make an animated series about creation myths, or a movie. Creation myths would be a great movie.
It would be, yeah. I would really enjoy that. I mean, that would work well. I think as an animated movie, you know, having that bit of that backstory of Thra and how Olga came to be, and Ronip, and like I mean, Creation Myths is definitely like one of the best sort of Dark Crystal comics that we've had. And then really, it wasn't really till Age of Resistance comics, so like, oh, you know, at least we've been getting some good stories. That was just really cool.
What else
just
do we have? Who is
Shawnee Peck.
Shawnee.
Yes.
So she says, my prediction is this. I want to be clear that this is all technical and a building up process for Dark Crystal. Obviously, the Henson Company still has faith in the franchise with all the merchandise from Weta and comics, along with the upcoming role play later this year. This would spark others' interest in the series. That being said, Amazon has been the best-selling source for all things Dark Crystal. And with that being said, Amazon Prime could buy the rights from Netflix to continue season 2 after seeing the demand of products. And as of this point, Amazon Prime has no Henson property. If not Amazon, HBO Max can do the same as restoring of faith to the public after the disappointment of the final season of Game of Thrones years earlier. Spicy.
Yeah.
They also own the rights to Sesame Street, so they've had relations with the company. And if either company can follow Disney Plus's example by releasing an episode once a week like The Mandalorian. So, yeah, I do definitely agree that Amazon or HBO would be the best options. I know a lot of people throw Disney Plus around, and we've talked about this before on our show about how whether another streaming service is going to pick up for season 2. I don't think it's impossible. I just don't see that happening this year.
No.
I think they're going to hold off and see what could happen. Like I could see them maybe like putting talking about it and like trying to have those conversations and seeing what's possible, but I don't see anything officially getting announced on that front this year. But if it did, I agree that I think it would have to be Amazon or HBO. Those make the most sense.
Yeah, which I mean, I was just actually thinking about if any Henson projects are actually, I don't think, well, I mean, HBO, I mean, we've got Sesame Street. But I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I don't think I don't think there isn't any Henson project on
HBO.
Yeah, but for Amazon for the Henson Company, like directly, I don't think so. Yeah, because I'm like, of course they've got Apple TV. I think they had The Helpers. I think I might have got that wrong. Oh, and Fraggle Rock too. Yeah. So that's happening with them. And then they had Earth to Ned on Disney Plus. So yeah.
To Ned?
I have. Yeah, I need to get around to watching that show actually. So I kind of feel bad I haven't got around to watch it. Earth to Ned.
Think Donna is one of the puppeteers for Ned.
Ah, nice.
And
oh, that's cool.
I think she posted some pictures on her social media of like puppeteering Ned. I don't know if she's a regular puppeteer on Ned or if it was just for an episode or something. So forgive me, Donna, if you're listening to this, but but I love Ned. He's hilarious. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people make that assumption about Disney just because they have a lot of they have the rights to the Muppets and they have that partnership for Earth to Ned, but they don't quite have their claws in the entirety of Henson. It's primarily just Muppets, and they seem to be pretty focused on that.
Yeah.
And, we all have our varying opinions on how Disney has handled having the Muppets. Because there's a lot of choices that were made that I think a lot of Henson fans are not a huge fan of in terms of decisions Disney's made regarding Muppets. So I personally just feel like Disney tends to make their decisions based on what's the biggest cash cow we can milk right now. And I don't see Dark Crystal being on that list of things that they're like, yeah, we can milk that for all it's worth, because especially since we had that article circling around about whether or not a Netflix executive called it an expensive disappointment. That's been put out into the universe. So I could see Disney being like, we don't want that.
Yeah. I think it's just like, I mean, it's such a wonderful world, but I think that's the thing at the end of the day. It's just the budget, which I mean, of course, had they do a second season, I would think that the cost would be a little bit. I would imagine a little bit less, because it's like, well, they got all of the sets. Well, I've kept the sets, but at least they have the blueprints of the sets. So it's like, it'd be much quicker to build these up and all that kind of stuff.
It could potentially be a bigger budget because it would. Because we haven't seen yet. Like, what about?
Oh certain areas, yes.
To go to the swamps of Sog in a season 2, that would have to be a pretty crazy set.
Yes,
they're gonna do more battles, try to push the limits. Here's what we did in season 1. Now we're gonna try to push that envelope even further. So it's hard to say, as just typical fans, it's hard to make judgments about things like budget, because that's most of the time they're working with amounts of money that we could never dream of and know what to do with. And but I do think that Amazon would be a smart choice because they seem to have a really good idea for fantasy franchises. We know they're handling the Lord of the Rings prequel right now. A lot of announcements have been made on that front recently, because they're doing their series about Lord of the Rings that takes place about the rise of Sauron, thousands of years before the books and the films take place. So they're willing to go to that, crazy world building prequel, deep dive for the super fans. Clearly they're showing that they're not afraid to do that.
No.
Then again, Lord of the Rings is a huge box office success, won all every Oscar ever.
Yeah.
Set this huge precedent for the fantasy genre. But the fact that Amazon is brave enough to touch that, rather than
taking risks. Yeah. I mean, I think they spent $1 billion, I think, just on the license, getting the Lord of the Rings, from the Tolkien estate, or I could be wrong here, but so that's really, I mean, that's if Amazon wanted to take a big risk. Dark Crystal would be up there,
I see Amazon doing that.
The more I think about it, it's I think Amazon would be, or HBO Max. Both of them could work. I think they would have more. I think they would have more flexibility with the stories they could tell without it'd be on Disney. There might be things that they can't do that they were able to do on Netflix. because I think with behind the scenes with Age of Resistance, I think there were things that they thought, oh, we're not going to get away with this, and not Netflix were like, yeah, no, that's fine. So
yeah, make it puppets.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
All the money.
Yeah. Let's see.
Come on.
I know exactly. I love this one from Sandra, and she just wrote, "Nothing, simply nothing."
Well, I mean, we are bad attitude, Sandra.
I know. Well, we are getting something. So with the the tabletop stuff. So
Yeah.
But yeah,
be holding off to see how that goes. Like, to see if that sells. If a lot of people are interested. If people are still buying tactics.
Yes.
I mean, why we haven't gotten a physical release of Age of Resistance yet is mind-blowing to me. There needs to be a Blu-ray release of Age of Resistance. There's no good reason why that is not happening. So that's another thing I'll try to throw out into the universe. We'll call it a prediction. Manifest what you want.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I predict that we'll have to, at some point this year, get a physical release of Age of Resistance, because why not? I know. And then they could base the sales of that on future decisions moving forward. If a buttload of people buy the Blu-rays, that tells Netflix, like, did we screw up?
Yeah.
You did. Shame on you.
By not giving us a second season. Yeah. Exactly. So
make it a Blu-ray, then collect the data from how that sells, and they would be able to decide what to do from there. And at the very least, that would bring it on the forefront of people's attention again. I would love nothing more than to see more Dark Crystal content on the shelves at Target.
Yeah.
Why not?
I know, it would be the best. And, get more people to discover the show for the first time. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, that would be a good sort of announcement for this year. If they were like, you know what, bringing them out on video. Well, not a video, but on Blu-ray or Ultra 4K or digital download and 4K. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Yes. I know.
Reach your giant hands from across the grave, Jim. Bless us. Manifest our dreams into reality, Jim Henson, please.
Yeah, I know. Make it so.
Spoon and pray with me, Philip.
Yeah, I know. I need a spoon. Oh, here we go. I'll bring my harp. Here we go. I'll bring my harp figurine. Here we go. There we go. This for the spoon. Yay.
Paddling justice.
There you go. Yes. And of course, for those that don't know, I mean, we did just release an episode of our harp discussion. So part 1 just actually came out.
Yeah. Our episode, if you will.
Yes, yeah. And I remember I'm like, oh yeah, I better make a note that this was because we talked about it before Age of Resistance got the Emmy.
Yeah.
And it was
when we still had hope.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it was like, and I know that episode took a while because, I mean, we had, of course, Louis, Jeff, and Will on the show, and wanted to get those episodes out. So, some of the character discussions were sort of in a bit of a back burner. But now that they're coming out, so now, which is really cool. So chatting about Harp, and then we got Celadon. And yeah, so, we just got a lot of Dark Crystal podcasting content on a fortnightly basis. And so no, which is really cool. And just, still loving all things Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
I mean,
there.
No, not at all. And just here with me, like with my Weta figurines, which I've slowly starting to collect them. So Hup was the first one, and then this one I bought maybe a couple of months ago, or not. Breya.
Yeah. With her
and
on fleek.
Yeah, we need that lore. Set.
Yeah,
Because to have lore and Bria side by side.
He should
then,
be able to fit next to her so that it's like they're interacting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, hopefully they might do the same with, because with Hup and Deep, you can connect them together. So I'm hoping they might do that with Floor. And this was my Christmas present, of course, with Rianne.
Yeah.
Just showing that on the camera and on the live show.
His bangs are so tidy. They're like perfectly combed.
Oh yeah. So just slowly collecting it. I don't think I'm not going to get the Skeksis. I think I'll get Deet, and then hopefully they'll probably be it. Unless they do a law, then I might consider it. But yeah, because they are.
The Patreon really takes off, and we get like $1 bajillion.
I know, out of nowhere, which I know, which we'll be restarting that actually in February. So you can actually, if you wanted to support us now, if you wanted to, you go to patreon.com/Dark Crystal Podcast. But we'll be restarting that officially in February and get things going with the Dream Space shows that I was doing, and hopefully in a couple months' time we'll add more rewards as well. So which is really, really cool.
So, do you have any other predictions we haven't talked about? Do you feel like?
Well, I just realized I forgot one from Mandy. Because I know she emailed me and so her prediction would be that at the end of the year that we get one teaser image from Hens to say watch this space in 2022.
That's kind of like what I was saying. They'll announce
maybe some.
They don't know why yet.
Yeah,
we're gonna announce something for the 40th
something. Yeah, maybe some kind of Gartha Moore's poster.
Can you imagine?
I know. Imagine.
Genocide.
I know.
Genocide we ever get excited about. Like, yay.
I know.
I want to see that.
And we didn't get it. So I think that was all the predictions that we got. So, so I think overall, I think a lot of people, we're sort of just the comics. I think, just getting comics or a new book to either continue the story or some have said that, they have, I mean, for myself, I would like to see the comics and books sort of before Age of Resistance, like its own era. So, more
Urskek content.
More Urskeks. That's what you want. Yeah. More Urskeks. Yes.
Or, this also just popped into my head, like Tales from the Wall of Destiny.
Ooh.
Like if we look at things that like that humongous Wall of Destiny, there's so many little stories and different things all over it that could just be their own individual stories. So they could sort of adapt that into its own line of its own series of comics. Like, here's this chunk of the Wall of Destiny. Here's what story that's about. And just like tales from parts of the Wall of Destiny would be, I mean, that's real nerdy, but heck yeah. Everyone here would buy that. So
absolutely.
Tell us about the bearded gelfling with wings, finally.
I know. There's like so many things about that wall that we hopefully we'll get those answers, down the track. But I definitely think overall, even for myself, I'm sort of like, I think this year is probably going to be pretty quiet. But I do hope, of course, 2022 has to be a big year. So I would think that there'll be, a lot more announced. There'll be a lot more things probably happening next year than this year at the moment. But who knows? We've had plenty of surprises in the past. Yes, yeah.
Just healing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the spirit.
Yeah, I know.
And of the body for a lot of people, honestly.
Yeah.
The world sort of finding its existence again.
Yes,
so that's going to kind of dominate everything, and it's going to be interesting to see how media in general is going to respond as things shift and change this year. But certainly for the world of the Dark Crystal, what sorts of changes they're going to be making, or if they are just going to kind of back down and chill out for the year while everybody kind of recuperates and keeps on binging season 1, I guess. But I mean, all the more reason to release a Blu-ray. I really hope, if of all the predictions and hopes that we have, if nothing else, the one thing I hope happens this year is the physical release. Just to have some sort of home video release for season 1 would just make a world of difference and open up possibilities for the future regarding age resistance and more Dark Crystal content.
Yes, yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think having the home release, that would be a great start, I think, for this year. Being a quiet year, I'm sure they have, they pretty much have what they need to release on 4K anyways. So,
Just do it.
I know, just do it.
Just
exactly.
do it.
Yeah.
Nike.
Just do it. Do it. All right. So I think we'll probably wrap up for this episode of Trial by Stone. I hope you enjoyed us, chatting about all our predictions and a lot of the listeners' predictions. And it'll just be interesting to see what happens throughout the year. In regards to Dark Crystal, what we're going to get, or if we don't get anything, or who knows. So, but I think regardless, I think we're at least going to get a few things this year. So we'll just have to stay tuned, and lots of podcasting content to come. So
we'll be
here. Yes, exactly.
Predict that.
No.
We're
I know.
no matter what.
Exactly. And we still have lots of character discussions to go through. We've got some hub shows and Saladon, and
some interviews on the horizon. Ooh.
Yes. Ooh, I know. So stay tuned for all that as well. All right. I think we'll wrap it up, and thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast, and stay tuned for more Trial by Stone.